Hello people, this is Al again. I've just bought another car. Surprise, surprise. This one's a 1986 Jaguar XJ-SC, maybe an 85, I'm not sure exactly. Euro car with the 3.6 straight 6. I got it from an estate sale. Obviously somebody had spent some money at some point modernizing it, making it look like a newer car. Either that or it's got some kind of aero kit, you know, TWR, Lister, whatever, I don't know what they are, maybe something else. But in any case, it's an XJ-SC, which is the cabriolet. So before they introduced the XJ-SC convertible, for a couple of years they had this cabriolet with either a hard or soft top on the back here and removable T-bars, T-top. And I decided to buy this thing because of one reason and one reason only, and that is that it has a 5-speed manual transmission, and I've always wanted a Jaguar with a 5-speed. So in any case, I ended up buying this thing. Again, it's a 3.6. Don't think it's the original color. I think it's some kind of candy apple red. Everything's locked up on it right now, so I'll get the keys for it shortly. It had been sitting for a while. I don't know how long, but when I bought the car, it had the fuel tank removed, which is currently out right now. Gentleman who had it, you know, who was selling the car on behalf of the estate, took the tank out and, you know, had it cleaned. Also took the expansion tank out in the front of the engine, and had that repaired as well. They're made out of copper or steel, and they tend to rust and go bad. So he took care of that, and I just need to go put it back together again and identify any other issues. Car looks quite presentable from about 30 feet, but when you get up close, there's, you know, some shoddy paint work here. Got the same kind of issue on this side as well, where paint's cracking. Paint's not great itself, but you know, it wasn't expensive, and it's a 5-speed, and 5-speeds don't come very often, so I figured I'd buy it. Let me get the keys. I'm going to put it on pause, and then I'll open the car up and show you the insides. Thank you. Okay, I'm back. So I got the keys, and I've got the car unlocked. So, you know, on the inside, seats are kind of crappy, but you know, the rest of the car is okay. It's not terrible. Wood's okay. Smells really musty in here, which is never a good thing. It means the water's been in here. It's got that stick shift. It's got some kind of funky wooden steering wheel, and there are cracks under the dash cover. It's kind of musty in there. It really does need to be aired out. This is kind of how I got the car. Fuel tank's out, just sitting there, and there's the coolant expansion. Now he said that he had that repaired. I guess he took it to a radiator shop and they brazed it. But you know, you don't know what it's going to be like. It looks like they did some work on the tank itself as well. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to get it running just by using a jerry can and just getting some gas, you know, flowing through the system, see how the engine runs. But yeah, I mean, it's a straight 6. I guess. Yeah, this is one musty car. The hood struts obviously don't work. It's fine, but it's an AJ6 engine, you know, it's your standard run-of-the-mill Jaguar. Looks like it's had fairly new plug wires, and you know, I don't know much more about it except to say that it's just an AJ6. I'm going to try to get it running today, so the first thing I'm going to do is plumb back up the coolant expansion tank so that, you know, I don't get coolant all over the place, and then I'm going to see if I can rig some fuel, see if I can get it to fire. So stay tuned. Hey guys, okay, so quick update. Right, so what I've done so far is I've rigged a temporary fuel pump. Well, actually, it's going to be the correct fuel pump. I looked up the parts interchange. It's a cheap one from Amazon. Cost about $30, but it, you know, it does the same job. But I've run it to the fuel line connections, and I've run it to this jerry can. So what you see over there is you see the return line going in, and then you also see the fuel line coming out, right? So you see it coming out here, and then it runs over and into the fuel filter and up into the fuel rail. So I'm getting fuel that going up to the fuel rail. The battery is over here connected to my trusty Mercedes-Benz starter battery from my SL55. It's plugged in, plus my jump starter. Make sure I've got enough volts to fire up the fuel injection. Again, 12.3 volts. Over here, I'm guessing this is the fuel rail right here. Put that down. Fuel rail right here, and I'm guessing the fuel comes in through this hose over here, goes into the fuel rail and out the other end. At least that's my assumption. And that's the fuel pressure regulator right there that controls the flow, so it doesn't just blow right through. Not sure if we have a problem here. So here's what I got. I know that I'm getting fuel over here. You can see it's a little bit wet patch. I undid that bolt, and I'm definitely getting fuel. I took the fuel line off the return line, and I diverted it to this cup over here. And when I ran the injection, cranked the car, I was able to fill that cup up in no time. So the return is working. It's going back into that tank, and the pump is working. Right, so pump's working. It's pumping fuel up to this fuel rail, and the fuel's coming back the other end. I didn't remove that secondary hose to see, but you know, if I'm getting some fuel coming back to the return, I'm going to assume that everything is hunky-dory. Okay, so that's where I'm at right now, but I can't get the car started. So I know I can get it started with ether. So you've got a can of ether over here, and if I squirt a little bit of ether in, it will run, but it won't run off its own accord. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. What I'd really like to do is put a stethoscope to the fuel injectors and see if I could hear the fuel injectors click, because if the fuel injectors are locked up, they're obviously not going to run, and you have a problem. It's not such a huge problem for me. I have a fuel injector cleaner and get them cleaned out, but I'd really like to hear them click first before I mess around with them. I have an ultrasonic cleaner as well. But you know, unfortunately, I'm here on my own, and I can only crank the car up, and you know, either be at the driver's seat, be at the back, or be in the front. And I'm kind of stuck in that situation. I really need a second person to help crank it. So this is where I am. Again, if you guys can give me some, some of your experts over here. Obviously this car has been, this is not an original masterpiece. This car is looks like it's been rigged 7 ways from Sunday. It's a 5-speed car. It's a 3.6, but valve cover says Jaguar 4.0. Don't know whether that's just a valve cover or it's an updated engine. But anyway, let's question my sanity here. Fuel comes into this rail, goes across all the injectors, comes out through this hose, goes to the return line. So if I'm getting return fuel going to the return line, and I could open this guy up and get fuel over here, then I know that the rail's got fuel. Is it the right pressure? I don't know. Are the injectors firing? I don't know. But when I run ether, it will start, and I'll show you right now. So let me just make sure that this thing's sitting properly. Okay, let me just hear this one more time. And you can hear it. And it's firing up. It obviously doesn't stay on for very long, but I know I have spark. So, my thoughts. My thoughts here are that the injectors aren't firing. Now, why the injectors aren't firing could be something with the computer. The computer's not talking to the injectors or something like that. Or it could be that, the fuel lines are just gummed up. The injectors are gummed up. I did try to tap on the injectors with a wrench. See if I can get them. Freed up, but it didn't help. So what I really need to do is get somebody to crank it while I put a stethoscope to it and see if I can hear them click. If I can do that, then I know that they're functioning, and it's probably gummed up fuel or something like that that's blocking the injector nozzles. So more to come later. I'm going to close it up. I've got family coming into town, and it's just the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. I've got to go and pick them up at the airport. But your feedback is welcome. I'm not familiar with the 6-litre engine. I've had a couple of V12 Jags. To be honest with you, I'm not really familiar with those, even though I've owned them for years. They just end up being garage queens. I was hoping that the 6-litre one would be a driver. Thank you.